Okay, I think we're all in here now. Welcome everybody to the 2018 All Candidates Forum. My name is Tanya Russell, and on behalf of the Valemount Area Chamber of Commerce, I would like to thank you all for joining us. We are extremely proud to sponsor this important election event and would like to give a big thank you to Toastmasters, Dan Lawless, and VCTV for helping us out tonight. I would also like to thank this year's candidates for putting their names forward. It really takes a lot of guts to put yourself out there, and we are extremely lucky to have so many dedicated members in our community. We'll start this evening with a brief introduction from each candidate. Now, just so you guys know, all candidates' names within each category were pulled at random earlier today to decide the order that they'll speak in. And following the introductions, we'll move on to, the main event, the question and answer period. So first up, we're going to hear from our candidates for the office of Councillor for the Village of Valemount. And I'd like to invite Nathan Smith up to the mic.
I always have to do this. Good evening. I wanted to take a moment to, in the tradition of the First Peoples of Canada, honor everything that has come before. I'm a little bit of a traditionalist, and I spent today my lunch hour looking over the Valemount community webpage, and I was disappointed that I could not find the original words of Valemount there. The original words of Valemount at the incorporation of Valemount were "our valley in the mountains." And I think this is something that is important, something that we discard at our peril. Our valley in the mountains asserts a subtextual attitude towards Valemount, an attitude of ownership, an attitude of responsibility, and an attitude of community. And I think that most of you in here today know of me, so I don't feel that I need to say too much about myself. I think if you want to hear stories about me, there are certainly lots of people here that you could talk to. And you could hear some stories, good and bad, about me. So, hello, good evening. I'd like to give the floor to the next person to speak.
Thank you, Nathan. Next up, we've got Pete Pearson.
Sorry, Nathan, but I'm going to move it down a bit. Good evening, everybody. I know many of you are surprised to see me in anything but a blue blazer, but I do have choices. So a little bit. I've lived in Valemount for 20 years now. Married my wife, Carrie, 10 years ago. And we're proud to call this village home. Whenever we travel, we tell people we live in paradise, and that's how we feel. So 20 years, I've seen things decline with the closing of the mill. We've seen home prices boom with the various development potentials. And I feel it's an important time to be a part of the team to guide Valemount going forward. I don't have all the answers, but I'm looking forward to learning and working towards making this a better home for all walks of life. Seniors, veterans, families, people with physical challenges, and your average working Joe. All deserve to be able to afford and live in our community. Sustainable industry and affordable housing are a couple priorities right now that we're seeing focused on. How do we encourage growth in our community? Making smaller footprint building lots available with some restrictions to build smaller houses on for new families might be an option. Encouraging multi-family structures for affordable housing. Expanding our health center, include an extended care wing and a hospice area to allow people to live out their days in the community. I think we need to look at lobbying the province to focus on transportation and get something done with the absence of the bus system. So I think we've got lots to focus on. So in the meantime, thank you all for coming out. Congratulations to all our competitors up here, and thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Next up, I'd like to invite Holly Blanchette.
Good evening, everyone. They say that more people are afraid of public speaking than they are of snakes. I don't know if I agree. I mean, you don't see someone walking along suddenly shouting, "Watch out, a podium!" That's right, it's the only joke in my bucket. My husband David and I moved here to Valemount 13 and a half years ago. He grew up and we have family here. My daughter Melanie works and lives here as well. And I've been working at our public library for over 13 years. Since I moved here, I have been on many committees, as you can see listed here, which I believe shows my level of involvement and commitment to our community. Valemount is a remarkable community with people that don't even think twice about volunteering and helping. I see people working hard for cleaner air, affordable housing, living wage paying jobs, business growth, and much more. I'm passionate about Valemount and its future, which is bright and exciting. Medium and small businesses, a successful community forest, college classes and students, entrepreneurs, tourism, outdoor activities, and events that have lasted over 30 years. We all deserve a high degree of dedication and hard work from our elected officials. I promise to continue the dedication, to continue the integrity, and to continue the diligence I believe I have brought to this position for over 7 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. Next up, we've got Rita Rewerts.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank the Toastmasters, the Chamber of Commerce, and BCTV for bringing this important aspect of democracy to our community. I also want to applaud all of you who have attended for democracy. It is so great to see so many faces here wanting to be involved and engaged in their community and moving forward with this community. When I was asked if I wanted to step forward and put my name forward, I thought, what can I bring to the table? What is happening in this community? What do we want to have happen in this community? Growing up in Saskatchewan during the Tommy Douglas and Diefenbaker years, I was taught community first. If you make your community strong, then everything else will come out of it. And if all communities made their community strong, then what a wonderful place our region would be and our province would be, just working together for strength. So I cast my eye around the community and looked, and I thought, what has changed in the last 24 years that we've lived here? And I thought, the mill has gone down, but people are still here. People are still striving, they're still moving forward. Who has been the drivers? What has been the drivers of all this? And I thought, okay, thinking back, I thought, okay, CREDA, today's Valemount Learning Center. They've been in the forefront of developing tourism in this community for decades now. Then I thought, oh my God, all the organizations and people in this community that have brought this community forward are nonprofit organizations, from VARDA to YORA to the Legion, to the Valemount Lions Club, to Vail Mountain Days. All these organizations are the ones that just want to live a good life in this valley and move forward. And they have. They've taken their passions, they've built marathons, they've built bike parks, they've built all these things that our tourism today is hinged on. If it wasn't for nonprofits in this community, where would our tourism be? And we can all trace it back to CREDA and all the organizations all the way through. And they've been supported by business, but primarily the foundations in this community are the nonprofits and all those wonderful volunteers and community members who have struggled so hard to make this community be. And that's where I'm at. I want to be a voice for you in this community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rita. Next up, we've got Eugene Jamin.
Hi, I'm Eugene Jamin, running for the position of councillor in the village of Valemount. A bit about myself. My wife and I moved to Valemount 45 years ago and raised our 6 children here. I worked 33 years at the sawmill, 26 years with BC Ambulance, and I've been versatile enough to find work when the mill shut down. I'm involved in my church and numerous organizations, including the Legion and Junior Canadian Rangers. I took my interest in village governance to another level 4 years ago when I made a commitment to attend as many of the council meetings as I could. I'm thankful to Andrew Young and some members of council who helped me understand and speak to village issues. I bring a desire to understand, clarify, and speak up even if it's uncomfortable, thus bringing a drive to roll up my sleeves and put my time and energy where my mouth is. The same drive for service that I bring to youth, veterans, and patients, I now want to bring to council with the belief that all voices need to be heard and advocated for. A big issue for me is affordable housing and how this will be carried out. I want to know more about tiny houses and co-op housing. There is need for advanced care housing for our elderly so they can stay in the community longer. The recent news about the possibility of a sawmill for Valemount Community Forest, wow, that is good news. Local businesses are also a priority for me. I am open to ideas from other residents, and I want to build bridges for dialogue. In my life experience as a student, husband, father, mill worker, paramedic, youth coach, I bring with me qualities that will serve me well as a counselor, including search for balance, resourcefulness, patience, cooperation, authenticity, integrity, and respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Eugene. I'd like to call on Sherry G now.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. When I moved here 8 years ago to be with my husband, Clayton, he told me that Valemount was a place where everybody knew each other and that it would take me a while to figure out who everyone was and who they were related to. He was right. In my first year here, I was quite worried. I watched many businesses close their door, empty their shops, the grocery store, the sporting goods store, the pet food store, and I thought, what have I gotten myself into? Have I moved to a ghost town? Over the next few years, though, I learned that Valemount will never be a ghost town. The people who live here are far too resilient, too caring and supportive of each other, and just too stubborn to give up. I've seen new businesses open up, new families move here to raise their children, volunteers working together to create community events for us all to enjoy. I've seen many times people come together to raise funds for somebody going through cancer or heart surgery. As a recipient of one of those events, I can tell you how good it feels to know that your community values you. This is my motivation for giving back. I've spent many hours working with the Valemount Legion, the Canadian Rangers, the Junior Canadian Rangers, the food bank, but I want to do more. Since putting my name forward, I've been listening to the major concerns people have. What I hear the loudest is housing. Affordable housing, social housing, senior housing. It's a big issue. We should never have to send our elders away to another community to live when they need supported housing simply because we don't have a place to put them. Recent events in my own life brought me to focus on expanding our medical services. We have amazing doctors, nurses, and paramedics, but they're limited in what they can do with their current infrastructure. We need to look at options. There's many other issues facing Valemount right now. Most of them revolve around growing our economy, full-time jobs, places to live, care for our seniors, our recreational facilities, public transport, no Greyhound, and many, many more. I don't have answers to all those problems, but I'm ready to find out what we can do as a council working together to improve and strengthen our community. Thank you.
Okay, and our final candidate for council, we have Donnie Mclean.
Good evening. My name is Donnie Mclean, and I am running for a councillor position with the Village of Valemount. Many thanks to the Chamber of Commerce for providing this forum, and thank you for coming out tonight. Why do I want to be a councillor? I care about Valemount, and I want to make a positive impact by serving this community and doing my part to improve it. I have gained leadership experience in my professional life as a supervisor and business owner, and in my time on many committee boards over the years. I'm currently the chair of the Columbia Basin Trust Local Initiatives Adjudication Committee. I'm aware of the time commitment required to be a good councillor, and I am prepared to do everything in my power to make informed, constructive decisions. I'm at my best working as part of a team. A successful council works together to find the facts, debate the issues, while considering fellow councillor and staff positions, and then supports the decision that has won the vote. Something is happening in Valemount. Valemount is at a critical, exciting time in its development as we welcome new people, new assets, and new opportunities. We want to ensure that development is orderly and sustainable. In other words, that the things we love about living here are still here for our children and grandchildren to enjoy, and that living here is as enjoyable as visiting here is. Housing affordability, availability, seniors' housing options, these must all be priorities, along with economic development and diversity to provide good-paying jobs. We need at least as much focus on building a diverse economy as there has been on attracting tourists here. I like the town hall style meetings where the public and mayor and council can interact in an informal setting. Voters must be informed and involved in decisions to make a village council work. As a voter or a councillor, I will serve the village to the best of my ability if elected. Thank you.
Thank you, Donnie. So we are going to move on to our next category. Next, we're going to hear from our candidates for Director for Electoral Area H for the Regional District of Fraser-Fort George. Man, was that a mouthful. So our first candidate in this category is Danielle Allen.
Thanks, guys. You know, no matter how many times I speak in public, it never gets any easier. So, I'm Danielle, and many of you know me through my involvement in various groups and organizations for the past 13 years since I moved to the Robson Canoe Valley. As Area H Director, which I've done for the last 4 years, we've been able to bring local representation to the School District 57 Board, advocated for local decision-making around backcountry access and development, supported clean energy, affordable housing, children, and seniors. I keep saying we, because I've not done any of this on my own. The administration and staff at the Regional District are smart and professional. They've worked hard to implement the policies that I and the rest of the board have advocated for. The community groups that I've worked with are amazing. They're full of passion, enthusiasm, and knowledge, and it has been a privilege to work with them. Local government does not build community. People do. And you guys have built an amazing community. And we have all the way out through Area H, from Dome Creek all the way to Alberta. We need to continue to attract valley-friendly industry. An investment into our area, growing our employment diversity and building on the strengths of each community and each area in our shared region. Together, we're stronger. We need to be able to give our children the tools and education to leave, learn new things, and then the economic opportunities to come back with new skills and new ideas. We need to support our seniors so that they can be active participants and stay in our communities. To do this, we have to have the kind of communities, vibrant, diverse, offering a healthy lifestyle and varied recreational opportunities that people actually want to live in. And we're getting there. Again, with the community groups that I've worked with, that's what they do. We have the tools and resources to make this happen. So, I'm running out of time, I can tell. So when I was first elected, I was told that this job was going to be either as small as I chose to make it or as big as I chose to make it. Apparently I saw that as a challenge, and I'm still up for the challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. Next up, we've got Ben Hunter.
Well, good evening. I'm probably unknown to most of you. My family's lived in the Robson Valley for 37 years. I moved away right after high school, as a lot do, to look for work, and came back not long ago. I've been working as a self-employed carpenter, renovator. I do heavy cargo recovery on the side as well. And I've noticed in conversations with people when I'm working on their houses or their barns or what have you, is, hey, you know, how's Bill doing? Oh, he's in Regina this week. How many people know people who one parent or the other spends 2 out of 3 weeks away at work? Or know families that have had to move away for work? I'd like to turn that around. I'd like us to, as director, as business owners, as residents, get together, talk, what can we do to turn that around so that the people who grow up here can stay here after school, because there are opportunities for them to make more than minimum wage. We've got the technologies, we've got the smarts. There are people in Area H that are already trying to do this, and we need to get behind them. Government cannot create jobs. It can create a favorable business environment for private enterprise to create those jobs, but it can also get in the way and ruin that as well. I would like to see conversations happen while I'm learning what this job entails, what I can and can't do, what my possibilities are that revolve around that, and see what you think we should be doing in our communities. Thanks a lot for coming out.
Thank you, Ben. Now we are going to move on to our candidates for school trustee. Now this is a new position for us folks. We're going to hear from the candidates for school trustee for the Robson Valley electoral area of school district number 57. First up, we've got Bob Thompson.
Hello. So some of you may know me. This is my first foray into public service, and it's going to be a real learning experience for me if it comes to pass that I'm elected to this position. But what I can tell you is that I am an advocate for education. This is a civic event we're having tonight, and people can't participate responsibly in civics if they don't have the support during their educational years that they need. And I'm not denigrating our schools or our staff members in schools. It's just a matter of making sure that proper funding is in place, that children who have special needs are properly funded, and that the board generally realizes that living in a small rural community is not the same as in a central hub. Things work in central hubs that don't work so well in smaller communities. So my goal will be to be a conduit for parents, students, teachers, administrators, to make sure that the people on the board who don't live here understand what our problems are, what we need, and to work with them collaboratively to bring solutions and do a better job. It's not that they're doing a terrible job, it's just that it could be a lot better. So I hope you'll remember me when you come to vote. My name's Bob, it's only 3 letters and 2 of them are the same. So it's not as complicated as a name as Harold, much longer, more consonants. So it's easier to remember. So anyway, thank you very much for having me, and we'll see you all subsequently. Yeah.
Thank you, Bob. All right, Harold, your response. Next up to the mic, we've got Harold Edwards, everybody.
My name is Harold Edwards, if you hadn't got that yet.
I see lots of familiar faces out here. I know many of you. I've lived here for 48 years. But Bob, he mentioned my name, and so it gives me the opportunity to inform you that today is Bob's birthday. So I know that that's going to count against my time. So what I wanted to say was, and Bob used the same word, our job is to be a conduit for you, from you to the School District 57. The other thing that we've been, I've been lucky to do, I was 18 years, I was a high school teacher in McBride and coached basketball and did a bunch of other things. And all those experiences made me understand how valuable education is for our small communities. Now, Valemount is different from McBride. You're starting a boom cycle. We're not in that yet. But the job of this newly appointed special trustees position is to start to get those ideas moving. And there's been some wonderful things happening in the schools about how to do education differently and better. My kids, and I've been lucky to see lots of kids go through the school systems from these small areas, and they are wonderful people, and they're terrific citizens. And it's not that we are trying to find what's the minimum for these small communities. It's what can our small communities do as a contribution to Canada's citizens. So remember me when you go to vote. Harold, it's a long word, but you can remember it. I know you can do it.
Thank you, Harold. All right, guys, we are going to move on to our candidates for the office of mayor of the Village of Valemount. As you can see, I've got them all tucked into the corner there. First up, we are going to hear from Sandy Salt.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank you and my fellow candidates for taking an interest in this year's elections and attending this All Candidates Forum. Many of you already know me, but I still feel it's important to reiterate my qualifications and experiences to help solidify why I feel I'm a good candidate for this position. I've lived in Valemount since 2006. I have a business administration and accounting diploma and 36 years experience in business, accounting, and administrative duties, as well as the honor and privilege of 11.5 years involved with the Village of Valemount, first as a senior staff member in the position of corporate officer for 4.5 years, then as a counselor for the last 7 years, in which I have gained a tremendous amount of experience, training, colleagues, and contacts at various levels of government throughout Canada. I have accomplished and received my Level 2 Advanced Certificate in Local Government Leadership from the Local Government Leadership Academy, and I'm currently working on my Level 3 Certificate of Excellence. I believe what makes me a good candidate is my commitment, dedication, proven understanding of conflict of interest, and attendance record at council meetings. Over the last 2 terms, I've only missed a few meetings due to critical family issues or being away due to other council commitments. I have experience and knowledge from both sides of the perspective as a councillor and as a senior administrative staff member of the village. I have a great love and passion for this community, its future, and its citizens, and I have used my 36 years of vast business and corporate accounting and administrative experience to provide well-thought-out decisions for all of the tough decision-making that elected officials are faced with during their term. I bring an openness and willingness to take on new challenges and the ability to admit when I may be wrong or have taken on too much. I'm approachable with a willingness to listen with care, compassion, empathy, and sincerity, ensuring to represent what is best for the community as a whole and not just select group or demographic. I'm patient yet persistent and not afraid of hard work, and I still have much unfinished work to do. Finally, I have strong drive, determination, and passion for success and prosperity for the Village of Valemount and its constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Next up, we are going to hear from Peter Reimer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, friends, neighbors. Thank you for taking the time to come this evening. Thank you to the event organizers, the Chamber of Commerce and Toastmasters, and to Tanya, our terrific MC, and to Michael, who operates the camera and isn't focusing on this part of the stage, he's focusing on you. Thank you to all who voted for me 4 years ago and gave me the tremendous privilege of serving our community as a councillor. My name is Peter Reimer. 42 years ago this month, I started in the insurance business. 30 of those years have been in Valemount, and 25 years ago, I became a notary public in this terrific province of British Columbia. I fully understand the issues that we are all trying to deal with, both from a personal and professional aspect, because I deal with them every day. It's still time for me to give back and use all the resources and skills that I have acquired while operating a successful business in a small community. And that is why I'm now requesting your support for me to be mayor and oversee the management of this great community. I'm committed to devote the time it requires to be the mayor, and my intent will be to lead a forward-thinking team of council who will be diverse, work harmoniously to put the best interests of the community first. The best thing that we can do as a council is to continue to keep good policy and put in place good policy and bylaws that get unnecessary regulations out of the way and let the companies, people, and organizations who want to build be successful. And I promise to work enthusiastically with integrity, honesty, transparency, inclusiveness, respect, and courtesy, always putting Valemount first. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Next up, we have Owen Torgerson.
Thank you all for coming. You're why we're here. Thank you for the Chamber of Commerce for hosting, and Toastmasters. Thank you, Mom, for keeping us on time. I'd like to thank my electoral colleagues for running and truly making it a race. Municipal governance is not easy. It's never straightforward. So join me in just giving them all a round of applause. I'm extremely appreciative of the team that I was part of. There are times when we didn't agree. That's what you get when you have an assembly of individuals with varied backgrounds, abilities, and beliefs. But overall, we were a team, and we were a team for Valemount. I'm thankful to the individuals throughout my committee appointments, including Varda, Tourism, Valemount Community Forest, Public Works, Kinder Morgan Expansion, and Emergency Planning, all of which I have contributed to and maintained an attendance record of well over 90%. These groups have enhanced my skill set and helped me build a network throughout these organizations and this province. It has and will continue to increase opportunities for all who want to live here. I'm looking forward to the next term, and I'm ready to gear up for you for the next 4 years. We make community. As mayor, regardless of who you are, I will always say hello, look you in the eye, give you a good firm handshake, and still remember your name. That I can promise you. Each and every one of you deserve that. We are a community. We will build a better, more resilient community for the betterment of Valemount. My approach, demeanor, the skill set that I've learned, continued to learn growing up in Valemount, and over the last 4 years, knowing where I come from, hardworking ethics. That's the person I am. Little things get lost along the way when people start thinking they're too important, and I will never, ever be that person. That I can promise you. on October 10 or 20, go to the polls and get going for Owen.
Thank you, Owen. Next up, and our final candidate for introductions, we've got Andrew Mccracken.
Thank you very much. Thanks to the Chamber for the Toastmasters and VCTV for helping us out with this. This is amazing. My name is Andrew Mcracken. I moved to Valemount in 2001, and it's been a place of fascination and wonder for me. One of my first experiences, the first year that I moved here, a young man, a high school student, a 16-year-old, took me on a backcountry journey up what we used to call Ski Hill. It's now called Mount Trudeau, and one day it could be the part of an amazing resort. This young man showed me something I didn't know was possible. We put fur on the bottom of our skis and hiked up to the top of a mountain and came down, and it was just something incredibly remarkable. Valemount has continued to hold that fascination for me. Lately, I've become a father. It's another fascinating, hair straight back. It's amazing. Valemount's been, I guess what I'm trying to say is, a place of learning. And I really mean that, of learning. Learning new things, learning what is appropriate, and learning to move forward. During my time here, I've served as a reporter, editor, publisher. I've been a business owner, a station manager, a freelance journalist, and in 2011 I was elected mayor. And it was a great honor. There are lots of things that I learned during my first term, and I would really appreciate the chance to show you what I've learned and to help move Valemount forward. On October 20th, I'd like you to consider casting your ballot for me. I want you to read my campaign material. I want you to look at the issues I'm talking about, and I look forward to getting a chance to speak with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrew. And thank you, everybody. You all did great, and nobody went way over on their time. I guess you heard my heels clacking up behind you, hey? So, folks, this concludes our introduction portion of the evening, and now we are moving on to questions and answers. So, if you could form orderly lines behind whatever mic is closest to you, my lovely assistant Diane is going to come up with the written questions that some of you left at the front. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to go a question from this mic, then we're going to do a question from that mic, and then we're going to do a written question. And we'll just fit in as many as we can until 9 o'clock. How does that sound? We're going to keep the answers to about a minute or two. Okay, so let's do a minute and a half then.
Are the questions fielded to everyone? Or?
That depends on the person asking the question. So please let the field know if your question is directed to a particular candidate or if it's for everybody running for that position. Okay, guys? Don't everybody trample each other heading up to the mics.
I guess I'll get started here. This is for the mayoral candidates, I guess, and can be opened up to council as well. Not to offend anybody here, but I see a lot of gray hairs in the audience, and not a lot of people my age. So my question is, what can you do to engage my generation in the community, in politics, in governance in the Valley? And how you're going to incorporate people of our age in.
Hi. Chikara, that's a great question. And I just want to acknowledge one of the many young families who've moved back here. Chikara, and I spot a couple of them. And one of the things that we can do, when I was serving as mayor, I went into, there's a vault in the village chamber where all of the studies live, all of the studies that have ever been commissioned. It's a pretty big room and the walls are completely lined. And one by one I took these studies off the wall and read through them and said, what's here for us? Did we get our value, and what's the story here? You know, I didn't find a lot, and I got pretty frustrated, and I thought, if we need to do another one of these studies, what we really need to do is involve somebody in the community so that somebody here gets the knowledge, so that somebody here gets the experience of doing this. And sitting beside me here is Owen Torgerson. And Owen and my friend Jared, two guys, I see them engaged today. They're very engaged, maybe too engaged. Not at all. But, that's one way. I mean, I really think that when we commission studies, we need to find ways. There's a lot of really intelligent, excellent people here with great histories who have the ability to make a contribution. Let's get them involved. Let's make sure that when we're taking on the task of figuring the problems of Valemount, that we involve young people. And in that case, believe it or not, they actually got paid as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Youth will be the future of this village. We have childcare that are way too small to serve the children that need that care and the families that need that service. And for far too long, people have consistently informed me that communication from their council and that improvement is drastically needed. We will change that. Your elected officials are paid to talk to you, all of you, youth and the elderly alike. And more importantly, we are paid to listen. People are people, and they want to be heard, and that's why I'm here, and that's why you deserve a council that will hear you. Thanks.
Well, that's a great question, and I'm going to speak to it from my role as a father and a grandfather. And just because, first of all, just because we have great hair doesn't mean we're out to pasture. Jimmy Pattison just celebrated his 90th birthday, and he still gets up and goes to work every day because that's what he enjoys. And I'm sure that he still has a lot to contribute. And so do all of us who have grayish and whitish hair. Let's not ever underestimate that part of it. There's a lot of wisdom that comes with this. And one of the things that I've always tried to make a point of doing is trying to have my children become independent. And that's a whole idea of being a parent. And age should not be a factor. There's all kinds of opportunity for young people to get involved. And I think if you have a look around at politicians, there's no, sorry, I'm going to take that back and I'm going to say community leaders. Community leaders are all ages, from high school and right through to 80, 90, 100. They're all community leaders. Age is no barrier. If you're interested, get involved, be part of the team.
Well, being the last to speak, it's hard to find even more responses, but I've been very much involved with varying generations in the community. I had worked for the Valemount Children's Activity Society for 3 years and really made a great amount of contact and relationships with parents and young families in the community. And I've always been proud and willing to be open and approachable for people to come speak to me. I'm on the streets, I'm in the stores, doesn't matter. If you have a question, you want to talk to me, you want to answer to something that you're kind of puzzled about or don't quite understand, I'm there and I'm wanting to have people be engaged. We need more engagement. And I also agree that there needs to be a little bit more transparency than what we have seen in the past few years. So I do believe we need to get back to having some more, either what we used to call community conversations or town hall meetings, to get the varying age groups to come in and be engaged with their local government and with their village and share their ideas. And we can work as a team. That's what this community is about. Council are here just to guide and direct your wishes for your community. And that's what I would aim to do, is continue the dialogue and the open presence for everyone to be able to feel comfortable, to come forward and be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Great answers, guys. Okay, so our next question seems to be for every candidate. So my Toastmasters ladies, if it is at all possible, can we please keep the timer to 45 seconds? Is that tough too? I think this one we're going to want to keep short and sweet. So the question to every candidate is, how do you feel Valemount can best show that we are an accepting community and are inclusive of all forms of diversity? I'm just going to start at this end and we'll work our way down.
I would say that Valemount has already shown itself to be accepting and inclusive and diverse. Anybody who was paying attention saw about 60 people go and chalk a crosswalk into a rainbow to express that. So I don't know that Valemount needs to do much to show or demonstrate that. It's already been done.
I agree with Nathan. I think our community has shown great inclusiveness. I think we can all look in the community and know people of differing backgrounds and life. So I think we're a very accepting community, and I think it's not going to change going forward.
The question was, how do you feel Valemount can best show that we are an accepting community and inclusive of all forms of diversity?
We are inclusive. We have everybody from everywhere living here. We're accepting to a degree. We've seen that happen. I think that this is something that would be a really good town hall discussion. That way everybody can listen to everybody, and that's what's important. We all need to hear everybody.
I concur with what the former speakers said about diversity and inclusiveness. And in some cases it is, and in some cases it isn't. But it's a small town. And small towns grow and change, and they need to grow and change. And people need to accept change is going to occur, and that we all have choices to live by, and accept our own diversity and our own love for one another. Thank you.
I agree. Diversification is incredible. It makes our community much more exciting. There are areas we need to work on. But I really feel that we need to focus on activities that bring us together. Examples of that were like the, when we gathered to raise money for the first cancer victims. Like, to me, that was incredible that we could get together to help as a community, and lines were completely dropped at that particular point. I'm really thankful for that, and we need more of it.
As someone who has faced discrimination personally in my early years, I do understand what it's like to feel discriminated against, and hopefully in Valemount that doesn't happen. I look out here and I see all different people, faces, ages, colors, genders, whatever you want to call it, and they're all people. We all live together and we all have to work together. But I do think that we need to listen to each other, and if someone is saying, I need this to feel comfortable, then we need to listen to that.
I'd be open to any suggestions anyone wants to bring forward. Council will be a reflection of the people of Valemount, and we want to represent everyone. But like I say, is if anyone has any ideas, I'd be very pleased to hear them and possibly act on them if I could as part of the team.
I think Eugene said it right. We need to communicate with each other and also follow the children. Children don't know prejudice. They're taught it. So if we... Thank you. And, you know, it is. So we communicate with each other with open hearts and open minds, and we teach our children that everyone is valuable. Everyone has value from inside them. And thank you.
I'm not going to get away with saying what she said, right? When I was a search and rescue team leader, we could not get our job done without being colorblind. We had to be culturally aware, but we couldn't function in emergency services with prejudice and racism and that sort of thing. It just couldn't happen. So we learned, just people. Every single individual, you look around the room, you, sir, are probably very good at what you do. I probably suck at it. Doesn't matter. I don't have to do your job. You don't have to be me. I don't have to be you. Like Danielle says, if we bring our kids up that way, that you are valuable for you, whatever it is that you do, then it just follows that we're not really going to have all that many problems.
Thank you, Ben.
Well, I'm all for inclusivity as long as we don't let those nasty little... No, I'm just kidding. When I look out, I'm looking at you now, and you're seeing us up here, but I don't see too many hate mongers out there. I see people just trying to get through their day. I would just encourage Valemount to keep doing what you're doing. This is a warm community. You've welcomed me and my family, and when we come to Valemount, we feel at home here. So maybe there are people that harbor these kinds of dark thoughts, but I don't run into too many of them. So I just think as long as we keep relating to people, as human beings, I think we'll be okay.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob. At this far down the line, it's hard to not sound like an echo. But I'm an immigrant, and so I hope you don't hold that against me.
What?
But I mean, everyone's already said it. We're all people. We have to work together to improve our society, and we do that by being positive with each other.
Ditto, 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 ditto. We, I think, have been making some great strides. Society has been working on a lot of challenges and issues. The main thing is that we all treat each other with respect and dignity. And everyone deserves the right to feel safe and to feel heard. So again, if we just listen to each other's needs, and if someone comes to me saying that they're just not feeling safe, I can at least ask them, what can I do to help make you feel that safety? What do you need from me? And we can discuss and see what kind of options we can come up with. But I think this community is an amazing community and an amazing mixture of cultures and races. And I love it here, and I think we're a very tight-knit community.
Love your neighbor as yourself. And I think we've been doing a good job of that. I don't see any discrimination, and I don't feel it.
RESPECT, respect. Identify the strengths that each member brings to this community, because we're all in it together.
I moved here in 2001, and when I came, I was married to Rashmi Narayan. We were in a mixed marriage. And at that time, we moved from a tough part of Edmonton, and that difference in our relationship, believe it or not, was a bit of a thing at some of the places we went to, at the pub down the street. And coming to Valemount, it was not. It was not at all, and it was amazing. And some people, when we moved here, thought they recognized Rashmi as somebody else, and the warmth that was here was amazing. But I'll tell you, a lot has changed since then. And one of the things I think we need to work at is, as a community, you know, I don't see any of the temporary foreign workers here. There's people that are working in the hotels. There are people who are not able to leave their homes, who are getting infirm. We need to really work at building community. And I think there is a little bit of work to do to get it back up to where it was in 2001. That's my, and
Thanks, Andrew.
diversity is a part of that.
Great answers, guys. I know that was a tough one because, you know, you kind of all had the same feelings there. Okay, is there anybody who wants to step up to the mic to ask an in-person question? Don't be shy.
Good evening, candidates. I'll try and be brief here because...
A bit closer to the mic if you don't mind.
Oh, sure. That's too loud. I'll try to be brief here. Can I just speak without the mic? Can everyone hear me here?
Sorry, we really need you to use it.
Okay. I'll try and be brief here. I've lived in this community for 28 years, and I've experienced quite a few things, astonishing really. So my question initially goes to Peter Reimer, and I first need to establish if the person sitting third from the end is the same individual, practically a lawyer as I understand, who was denied by council and the taxpayers of this community any reimbursement.
I'm sorry to interrupt here, but we are going to have to get to the question, please.
Yes, for an expense consultation assumed by himself, being unsatisfied with the expertise of a former CAO and advice of the village's legal counsel. Are you this same person standing before us as a mayoral candidate?
Yes, I am.
That's good, because environmental research junkets aside, former farm excursions aside, I just wish to establish if you are the same individual also who, until introduction of the federal hate crime legislation, was vehemently attacking and condemning the GBLTQ, their persons, and by extension their friends and families in this community. Is that correct?
No, that is not, sir.
Has your position changed?
I'm sorry,
then?
I'm going to have to cut you off here. I'm not sure if I was clear about the question and answer protocol, but I'm going to need you to get up and ask one question per turn at the mic, and we're going to have to keep this night moving along. So if you do have something that you would like to follow up on with any of our candidates, they all invite you to get in touch to get a conversation going, but we are going to have to stick to questions and then answers,
please. I have an important question concerning Mr. Reimer's ability to interact with provincial representatives. I could point out David Evie, Mr. Farnworth, Mike Farnworth.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're going to have to sit down. Thanks. Is there anybody else who would like to ask a question?
I'd like to thank everybody for showing up. That's all a big part of what you're looking forward to doing at this next vote. My question is, because I've heard a lot of great talk about we, community, and things like that, and a lot of lingo moving forward, going forward, being forward. I just wanted to hear just what would be the priority for this community right now that's facing. I understand there are certain issues, but to be elected, what would be something that you'd really want to throw your back into for this community that you think would be something that's we're really facing right now?
Would you mind clarifying who you're asking this question to?
It would be to the mayoral candidates.
Okay, perfect.
And council, but mayoral candidates, because I know council works with the mayors.
Thanks. I'll start down here at Sandy this time.
The biggest issue that I'm really looking at addressing this term, and it's something that had already been started, actually my first term, and that is housing. We have a serious crisis here in Valemount and across our entire province. So at UBCM this past year, I attended several workshops about the different things that can be done by your local government, working together with organizations, working together with the province on achieving the ability to get some affordable housing built in your communities, seniors housing. We have some, we need more. We need a lot of other things that aren't in place, aging in place. We want our seniors to be able to age in place. I don't want them to have to go to another community and leave their families. So that is something I am focused on, is affordable housing.
Thank you, Sandy.
Whole issue of housing is probably the #1 open, in-your-face issue.
If you can't breathe your air, you can't live. It doesn't matter what kind of housing you have. Air quality plagues are most vulnerable. It plagues us all, especially in the winter. Wood stoves are a requirement for most of us when there are only two other choices, expensive electricity and expensive propane, and we can do better. There's zero reason why one should have to choose between their health and paying their electrical bill. That's why I've started the conversation with natural gas providers to bring natural gas to Valemount, and as well starting the conversation and bringing geothermal as a reality. Thank you.
I think a #1 issue is housing, but I think the solution might surprise you. This council got a group of people together to look at the housing question, good people in the community. And they formed the Affordable Housing Committee, and they got together and they poured over recommendations and brought those forward to council. And council didn't look at them. So it's fine to go to UBCM and get great ideas, get stoked and get excited. But there are some simple things that cost nothing to move us forward as a community. I'm going to give you one example that could have been changed in a heartbeat. It's a stroke of a pen, but it'll take 6 months to do it. We should really do it right now. If you build commercial, you build 10,000 square feet on commercial on 5th Avenue, you can build residential above it. 1 unit. We can do better.
Thanks, Andrew. Okay. Over to this mic.
So I'm sorry for being a little late to the meeting. I don't know if it's been addressed or not, but my concern is with childcare. This is my question to the mayoral candidates about how are you going to address childcare coming forward in this next coming term?
I was going to pass the mic over to the person on my right because she's got childcare experience. But I also have a daughter who's doing childcare and has been doing it for a long time. Yes, we've had a challenge in Valemount for childcare, and hopefully with the ideas that the new provincial government has, we can get some more resources out of them to improve the childcare facilities that we have.
Either way.
That's a critical issue. That's challenging Valemount right now. It's a necessity for childcare expansion. The current facility is just way too small. If kids can't go to daycare, parents can't go to work. And we can look at that from two sides. And it just makes that affordability issue that much greater. That makes the household income less and affordability that much more of a challenge. Mortgages and property taxes may not get paid, no taxes, no services, period. Degrading infrastructure. Substantial funding, as Peter has pointed out, has been recently made available to municipalities who partner with their child care providers, and I will work tirelessly with Council to ensure that partnership and toward a construction of a larger, multi-purpose, energy-efficient facility. Thank you.
That is a great question. It's so important to us for all the reasons said. I want to say my family feels this in particular, both because we have a 2-year-old and also because we run a business. My wife owns the Rocky Mountain Goat. And so keeping employees, it's a common thread. Childcare is an important part of that. I want to just take a step back and just acknowledge the work of Krista Voth and the daycare. They've just expanded. Yeah. Like, they're doing amazing, and if you ever get a chance to visit the facility, it's wonderful, and they take terrific care. What I wanted to add, what's different, and acknowledge the work that's gone on in the last 4 years is, this is a really good problem to have, and solving it is going to create some jobs. So this is a good thing. We need to put our heads together, and thank you for bringing it up, Isla.
I don't believe Sandy has answered yet.
Thank you. This has been a huge issue in our community for many, many years. And what I'm most pleased about is some of the recent announcements from the new provincial government. And I'm also very pleased with the work that the Valemount Children's Activity Society Board have been doing with getting staff trained, because without trained early childhood educators, you can't have more space. There is a parent or an educator to child ratio, and without the educators, you can have all the space in the world and not be able to care for them. So I'm very pleased to hear that there are people in our community that are working on getting the skills required to get their early childhood educator certificates so that we can build that building and fill it with children with the educators that we'll have. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Okay, so we are going to jump back to another written question. This one is for the mayoral candidates as well as the council candidates. So we'll cycle through the mayors again, and then we'll pop back over to you guys here. The question is, with the cost of living going up, how do you envision Valemount bridging the economic gap? No pressure. We'll start with Owen, and then we'll cycle back on through the mayors.
Great question. A continuity of a balanced, diverse economy will be key heading into the future. Varied industry with value-added operations, trades as well as niche sector, commercial startups can employ more people combined than one pie in the sky. If a piece of that pie wobbles a bit, due to market fluctuations, for example, the whole pie doesn't crumble. These endeavors have and will continue to build a resilient community. Thanks.
Thanks. That is a really good question. And I guess I'm just going to get up because I can't see some of the people and I want to. Look, we've been aggressively pursuing a resort up here on the mountains, and it affects us all. Whether or not we are running a business, whether or not we're selling pizzas, there is an impact. There's an impact on affordability for Valemount. And what I see is we need to kick into gear. We need to provide seniors housing for people if they need to get out of their homes. We need to be really careful about raising taxes and utility rates. We need to find good solutions for the infrastructure facing us, because we may become, on average, a much more wealthy community. But you got to remember, if you're not participating in the economy, that's not going to help you. So if you're retired at home, you don't have more money as a result of the resort. And so I say, I'm all for the resort. I think it's a great idea, but the focus on Valemount has to be doing more with less. We have to keep it affordable for people. And I think...
Thank you, Andrew.
Oh,
sorry about
yep. Apologies.
I know. That's a pretty meaty question. So I would also encourage maybe our candidates to offer a follow-up even if you want to keep the convo going later. Out of the rest of you mayors, I would just, one of you can jump on the mic there.
Sorry.
Or have you guys all answered this question? No. Peter, you're up. Do you want to know the question again?
We were talking and I missed your...
Oh, well, guys. Just kidding. With the cost of living going up, how do you envision Valemount bridging the economic gap?
Okay, so we're still on that question. We were just figuring out which way to pass the mic.
I can tell you.
Thank you.
So bossy.
All right. How do we bridge the gap? Well, number one, we have good financial stewardship starting at the village office, that we live within our means, we live within our budget, we look after the important things in the community, the roads, the water, the sewer, and we do a good job of maintaining those. And that's the essential things that we need to do as a village. Personally and business, if you're spending more money than what you're taking in, it's going to be a challenge.
Thank you, Peter.
It's a difficult challenge and question for sure. And I think one of the things we as a council can do is make sure to keep within our means, keep our budget, try not to raise taxes any more than absolutely necessary, because we know that the citizens are going to have other areas that they're not going to be able to afford as hydro keeps going up, as groceries keep going up, as fuel goes up. It's also going to take bringing in a more diversified economy as well. Tourism isn't just going to do it. We need to be able to have some communities, companies and organizations come to the community to provide a living wage. We certainly are seeing improvement with our minimum wage going up, but we need more of a living wage from industrial jobs.
Okay, so we're going to start down here with Donnie Mclean, and we'll work our way down the line.
Well, what we need to do is focus as much on attracting industries that pay more than tourism, as we have in attracting tourism-based industries in the past. One of the ways we could do that is to think about the high-tech sector that needs high-speed internet. We can't attract any of that stuff unless we get high-speed internet here to town.
It's a really big question, and we've had some really big answers. And I think as well as all of that, we have to not lose focus on the little people in that equation. The gap is going to affect our lower income and fixed income people the most, and we really got to make sure that they're taken care of.
This is a question I'd really like to have a magic wand and make it all better. But I know that every single community is looking at the very same question. And for me, the small local businesses offer a lot of answers there. I'm thinking of Mike Lewis with his brewery. I'm thinking of the bakery that we have. That's the direction I'd really like to see us heading into. And it's also with the big industries that do come by, is it really a good thing for Valemount? And we need to pay attention to that. Thank you.
It's an interesting question. And in the nonprofit work that I've been doing over the last 4 years in this community, and speaking with the families and what their needs were and what they had to do to make ends meet, was quite different than maybe other segments of the community are. And one of those was affordable childcare, of course. And for us, we started programming for having children's programming in the summertime, which the community supported amazingly. And we wanted to have low-cost camps in the summer whereby the families could have money saved in order to buy their kids school clothes, school shoes, all the things that kids need, and still pay daycare. So we are trying to work it out on a practical day-to-day living, cooking, how to live well, I think is a way to start in this community.
Thank you, Rita.
I think we have to keep promoting Valemount as much as possible. We do want investors here and we do want developers here. We can decide how big the development will be, but we do want to have them coming. We have to be very, very vigilant of our taxes. I don't want to pay more than I'm making. And we need to keep going the way we're going. The way we're going is working great. We have got some wonderful people here. We've got fantastic businesses. We've got people that have come here from huge cities and opened up businesses here. So what we're doing is working. We just need to do more of it.
I agree with Holly. I think we need to start at the village level with cost control. Nobody wants to see taxes increase, so I mean we need to start there. But we have to attract small business, value-added industry to the valley, and I think part of doing that is finding affordable energy, like natural gas, as Owen mentioned. You're not going to draw industry here if they have to rely on a somewhat unfavorable hydro system or propane to run their business. High-speed internet as well. I mean, if we can improve our connection speed, we can get higher value-added technology in town, and again, the affordable daycare so people can afford to work outside the house.
Thanks, Pete.
How can we bridge the economic gap with the cost of living rising? Sometimes market forces conspire to stratify real estate out of the reach of people just entering the market. One of the ways we can combat that is by sectioning off a portion of our real estate and declaring that eligible for purchase by people who live and work here. If houses are made with a small footprint, they cost less and are easier to get into. Reliable internet means that people can work from home and have high-paying jobs working from home. For a single mother, this could mean maybe not necessarily having to opt for childcare. So there's lots of ways that we can bridge economic gaps that we face. We just got to put our heads together and look for solutions that have been modeled elsewhere.
You guys did great with that question, just so you know. Is there anybody who would like to step up to the mic? Oh, yep.
Hi. In the opening remarks, no one has mentioned air quality. I was glad that Owen, in a follow-up question, did mention air quality and has indicated what he's doing about it. I would like to know, for members of council and mayor, I don't want, in the interest of time, I don't want everyone to say what they're doing, but I would be interested in knowing if air quality is an issue that they are interested in pursuing as a member of council or mayor, if they think it's a high priority issue or not. I also know that Nathan has expressed some thoughts on and ideas on what he would do about, possible solutions. So I'd be interested in starting with Nathan and having you give your thoughts on it, and then maybe just quickly go to the others and feel,
sure. I think we
just
can
see how they
arrange
feel.
That.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for your question. Okay, Nathan.
On the subject of air quality, I would have to say that is something that I feel strongly about as somebody who is sensitive to air quality due to industrial disease. I've been exposed to carbon monoxide through my work as a concrete finisher and a carpenter, and it impacts me, and I feel for anyone who lives with a respiratory illness that has to deal with that. I've put a lot of my ideas about this on social media, so I don't know that, if anybody wants to talk with me more about this, I'm keen, so let's talk.
Thanks. Yeah, I think we all know somebody close to us that has breathing problems, and this valley can be very prone with our inversions and stuff like that. I think if there's a government program that can help upgrade with wood burning, we're not going to get away from wood burning. I mean, it's one of the more economical ways for people in the valley to heat their homes. But we needed a government program to assist them with upgrading of stoves, the catalytic burners and such, to lower the emissions and do what we can to keep our air cleaner.
Yes, it's an issue. My husband developed asthma since moving here, so for us it's critical. We used to have a wood stove exchange program that hasn't been affordable of late, so we need to relook at that. And the other thing is we need to educate everybody. It is not okay to burn garbage in your stove because we all have to breathe it. And the third thing is we have to remember that I believe BC is a no-idle province. So in the middle of winter, when everybody's run to the store in their car and they leave it running for 20 minutes when they're in the pub or in their grocery store at IDA, we have to remember that that's not allowable because I'm getting out of my car and I have to breathe that in. So.
I actually think it's a regional district problem as well. Living out in Cedarside, we have a neighbor that lives across the road that affects the town immeasurably. He burns garbage in his yard. He does all these things. You phone the regional district and there's nothing the regional district can do. The slash pile burnings, I think that there should be a deeper consideration given to what goes on, not only within the village, but external to the village and what's happening in the regional district area as well that impacts the village itself and then compounds the problem. So I would like to take a regional and a village look at what can we do, and no idling is a must.
It is an issue, and it's a big challenge what we're going to do about it. We have wood-burning appliances, and for some people that is the form of heating that they can afford. I do believe there's roads that can be made on helping people with burning good fires, less smoke, and looking at, especially with the geothermal project, being able to incorporate heating through the water from the geothermal project. That's a big challenge and lots of work.
Absolutely, it's an issue. I don't really have anything extra to add. I agree with Holly, I agree with Eugene. Geothermal, smart burning, as a fire department family member, you know, wood stoves are a big part of our village and we just have to learn to use them properly.
Well, I too agree with everyone who has spoken before. The wood stove, the program where they help to replace your wood stove or upgrade didn't really pay a lot. You might have to pay, what, $2,500, $3,000 for a new stove in some instances, and you would get $700, which just isn't enough for a lot of people to make it worthwhile. One thing I was thinking is this two-tier power that perhaps we could approach BC Hydro to have that removed for small communities like ours where there's no natural gas.
Thank you. I'll come grab the mic. Okay, Sandy Salt, you're up.
Absolutely, it's an issue. It affects me personally as well. I'm a migraine sufferer, and when we have our air quality issues, I live with chronic headaches. I have respiratory issues. I have trouble breathing, and it is affecting many people in our community, especially the young and the elderly, the vulnerable. Funny, Donnie should mention about the two-tier hydro. I was lobbying with BC Hydro at UBCM this year, trying to have a solution to the two-tier billing. Not a lot of luck right now, but I'm not going to stop fighting with them. Thank you.
I'm going to keep on dealing with hydro until they understand what really impact it has for them to keep doing the two-tier system. Most of them live in the big urban areas and they don't have it. and we do. They just don't understand it yet. If you're going to burn wood, burn it properly, burn the right kind of wood, and it would be nice to have a program back that would help people on a more effective basis to replace wood appliances. They've changed over the years, and the upgrade system to help people that really need it hasn't been in place.
Thanks, Wendy. The conversations I've been having with the potential natural gas partners have expressed an interest in bringing natural gas to Valemount, a service at their cost, their investment, and offering at a lower consumption rate compared to the electrical and propane BTUs that are currently available. Those discussions will be ongoing, and these potential partners are willing to partake in a community town hall, so I will let them tell you.
That's great, Owen. That's really good work. Air quality is important to me. As the editor of the newspaper, in the winter, I did a 5-part series on it. It's a big issue. It's balanced with affordability in the community, and that's one. So it's a tough one. It's also a personal one. How we burn affects people. And so, Wendy, one of the tough things for me, you saying that this is a big issue, one of the things that we need to demonstrate as Valemount is how we get together as a community and influence each other in how we handle the wood burning. Burning well, dry, burning hot, can really clean up our air a lot. And so, is there a way that council can work with the community to help on that end? And I think that's a conversation I'd like to continue.
Thank you. Great answers, guys. Is there anybody else who'd like to step up to the mic here?
Hi. This question is for Bob and Harold. The position that you have essentially applied for is newly created as a rural school representative on the School District 57 trustees. So my question for you is twofold. One, what do you believe the job description actually is? I understand, yes, you're going to be a voice for rural schools. Besides that, what are you actually going to be doing? And what experience do you bring to that position specifically? Thank you.
I guess the experience that I bring is that I was a teacher in the system. I'm not sure if that counts for me or against me, but the issues that are, some of them are just financial, and one of the things that I'm also a counselor for McBride for 2 more meetings, and at the UBCM we had some discussions with the Minister of Education, and we've brought up for 2 years in a row that we need to change the funding formula for the rural areas, and not just the rural areas. Many of the schools in Prince George are rural, so we need to sort of express the concept of, my yellow light was on, I'm done, but I guess I'm done. So.
Great opportunity to follow up later, though.
So, Harold, it counts against you? Okay. I realize that we're going to be implementing policy, and that policy is for the entire school district. So it's not just about rural schools, it's about other schools, and it's going to be about innovating. But again, my goal is to help the other trustees understand the differences that we faced. And he was reading my notes. That's how he knows that I was going to say how we fund the schools. I mean, if you go to a school with 1,000 students, the money that's allocated for those students overlaps. So if you have a school with 100 or less students, that money doesn't overlap. It barely covers it, but it's easy to say if you live in a big center, well, you know, we're giving, it's just equal, it's all equal. Well, it isn't equal. So So that's an example of one of the things I want to look at.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else who wants to get up to the mic? We haven't heard from this side of the room in a bit. Sorry, I tried to keep my hands under control.
With the legalization of marijuana just around the corner, I'd be very curious as to see what our future council and mayor candidates would feel about business opportunities in regards to that here in our village, and just generally how they feel.
Great question. Can we start with Andrew and we'll work our way back here?
That is a great question, Laura. I think for many of us, this is a big change. So there's a big cultural shift. There's a big shift in there's a lot of work to get our minds around how to treat this. I think there's a couple things we need to throw at it. So I don't have a solution. I don't know the answer. I don't know the way forward. But I will say the approach needs to be integrity. We need to think about the consequences of the zoning of where we allow it to be. And we really need to find a good partner. If we do end up having a marijuana shop in Valemount, I hope that we can find somebody who will operate with a great deal of respect, the same way that other businesses do in Valemount.
Yeah, October 17, 10/17, is that the new 420? It's a significant day for our nation, and for the second time in its history, cannabis will be legal. Local governments will have the choice where to limit recreational marijuana dispensaries, where they can and cannot be, allow commercial growing operations, consumption, public places, but council is not going to be able to decide that. We need to ask you, should cannabis be kept out of our parks from the downtown core? Should one be able to just simply light up anywhere? Should at-home growers be subjected to rigorous fire and safety inspections upon choosing to grow and cultivate those plants? This is why I urge council to direct staff to begin a rollout of a comprehensive review of FCM and UBCM cannabis references, and to organize a complete town hall engagement to give you that exact opportunity for you to tell us.
You've got notes all prepared. First of all, any kind of retail operation is going to be under the authority of the new legislation that the provincial government is going to roll out. Secondly, as it affects our local area. I agree, we need to have that discussion and to make sure that if we are going to entertain that we have full community dialogue and input into this. This is going to be one thing that is really going to test our desire to work together as a community and to be respectful.
Well, I have to agree with everything that's been said so far. This is going to be something that will be legislated through the Liquor Control Board and the new board formed Liquor and Cannabis Control Board. It will be a topic of decision and discussion by all of us, not just council. In my personal opinion, doesn't matter on this topic. It's what all of us want in our community, because this is, again, our community, and this is going to be a hot topic, and I think we need to have everybody's input and feedback so that we can make the best decision for all of us concerned. Thank you.
Well, I agree with Sandy, is that this will have to be something that the community will give council direction for. The provincial government will be setting most of the rules, but as to how this will be addressed in Valemount will have to come from the wishes of the people.
Absolutely. It's definitely going to be interesting. It's a big change. It's going to be an adjustment for everyone to get used to. One thing that I will make sure to remind us all is that however we do it as a community, that we do it in a way to keep our youth safe.
we will be thrown right into the midst of it. The election happens to be on the day that pot will be legalized. So there is a lot of homework that have to be done in a very short period of time, and that will be a big challenge. I know that it'll have to be with public input, and hold on to your hats because there's a lot of work to be done.
I think that it has to be a community initiative of how it's going to be handled, what the scope of the community wants to do, where do we want to go with a commercial licensing, with commercial hemp growing. We talk about a secondary industry in this community. Hemp manufacturing and growing for paper products and other products is a really good direction for us to be going. We have the land that hemp grows in, that we could have a secondary project with it, and I think that the world could come to us and make those decisions and how we want to handle our abilities to grow within this valley.
I think our first town hall meeting will be October 21st. We don't have any answers as council right now, so the community doesn't have any answers, but together we'll have to figure it out because it's coming.
Thank you, Laura, for pulling the blanket off the elephant in the room. We were all expecting that one, I think. So, yeah, I mean, this could be a very divisive topic going forward. I think hopefully some groundwork has been done in the community, in the council and staff, because those of us who are elected on this group up here, we are stepping right into it. So. The control of business, so it's done in a respectful and integral way, is very important where it's possibly located. Jasper's bylaws have just kicked in as far as public usage, not being allowed in any public space for the consumption, so we have some work to do.
Thanks, Pete.
This is definitely a good area to have some conversation around. I'm always an advocate of looking out at what's been successfully modeled elsewhere as in a way to explore our options. I see this as potentially being divisive between older and younger members of our community, and we need to engage in that in a respectful way. But at the same time, there's a really big opportunity for economic growth and employment, manufacturing. So all of this stuff needs to be done properly. There needs to be quality assurance, and I'm looking forward to having more conversation about this. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Well, guys, we are going to jump back to another written question. Since we've actually already touched on the first part of this question, we're going to jump right to the second part. And this is for council and mayor candidates. Would you support to build a public pool? So, we're going to change things up here. We'll start in the middle here, maybe with Rita. We'll go this way. I'll jump over here.
I believe this community needs a pool. And there's many, many ways that we could do it. We could do it with a public-private partnership where the municipal government works with a new hotel coming into town that would like to build a resort-type pool where it's a public pool as well as being a private pool that is used by the community and the guests that would stay at that. Or we could talk to our new school board trustee. There's lots of schools all over this province that have pools. Why can't we have a community pool with our schools? There's all different kinds of models that could be utilized to build a pool in this community where there's shared costs, whether it be the school board with private enterprise and public funds, nonprofit organizations.
Thank you,
There's
Rita.
many models. Thank you.
I like the idea of a pool, but I think we have to be realistic that it's going to cost a lot. and it's going to move our taxes up, because we not only have to build the pool, we have to maintain the pool, and we have to insure the pool. So this is one of those comforting lies, inconvenient truth type things. Maybe what we want to look at more is trying our hand at a spray park.
I'm glad Holly was able to say it that way. Yeah, hey, we'd all love a pool. We've talked about it for years. Paul and I have always joked that if we won the big lottery, we would build a pool here. But yeah, realistically, the funding would be just phenomenal to build a pool, support it, staff it, and maintain it in this environment. There really isn't another community that we could use as a model that has an indoor pool recreation with 860 some people supporting it financially. Our taxes would be the bearer of that cost. So.
I would love to see Valemount be a place where we could have a beautiful community center with squash courts and a pool and all the bells and whistles. But you know, as my dad used to say this to me many times when I was younger, Nathan, you have champagne tastes and a beer pocketbook. And I think we need to focus on needs over wants here in Valemount.
For me, very much in the same line. Great thought, great expectations, but it's not just the building of the pool, it's maintaining it. And the costs for licensing, for insurance, they are really prohibitive. And I don't think our community can afford something like that. It's not to shove it out the window, but I do believe it's way more than we can take on.
I would love to have a pool. My junior rangers would love to have a pool. But until we can make sure that we have roofs over everybody's head and that everyone has a place to live and a job to pay their mortgage, I really don't see how we can afford to have a pool. But if anyone's got an idea they want to throw my way, I'm ready to listen.
I feel the same way. I guess, well, I would love to have had a pool when we were young too, but there just wasn't the population here to support it. It's been said that you need a population of 5,000. Now, I can't remember where we read that, but to support a pool, I guess we have to focus on growing the town. If we had the money and we're able to support it, I'd love to have a pool.
Everybody wants a pool. It's been the story all along, but truth be told, it's not economically feasible for a community our size. The only way would be, like Rita had said, possibly some partnerships, but then you have a lot of logistics there as far as who's going to take the liability, are you going to split it? It's just heartbreaking to say, but it's just not feasible. We need to, again, focus on some of the other issues that are more critical at hand, and we need to focus on what you need to live and survive. And those things are village infrastructure, water, sewer, roads, and get some housing and get some better paying jobs, make sure that we're all able to meet our bills and live and grow our community. Sorry, a pool's not going to do that right now.
Thank you.
This is a broken record. So, same answers. A pool is just not affordable. Building it is the least of the cost. The maintenance would take up most of the tax dollars that we take in right now. I think one of the motels used to offer their pool for the public. And I don't know whether that's a possibility in the future if another motel built a pool, whether they would allow the public to access it or not. I don't believe the Best Western is, but if they are, yeah. So I think if the Best Western is, there's our indoor pool.
Danielle will get this, so I apologize, Danielle. I have an unscratched Set for Life ticket in another jacket. Danielle and I were traveling to UBCM, and I had purchased a couple, and we said we'd go halfers. But I have to break that promise, so if you vote for me, I'm going to go and scratch that ticket.
One of the things that I wanted to get to tonight, as council, it's a painful time to bring this up, but we need to start sort of a culture of yes. You know, when people come to us with ideas, specifically entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs are great. They come with their own money, their own time, and their own investment. But when people come to us, we need to say, wow, what's there in that idea and what can we do? I really appreciate Rita's thoughts. It's amazing. That idea of working with a private hotel owner to use a pool. So my family partakes in this, and my wife was running a small program for kids to go and toddlers to be in the pool, and the pool is perfect for them. And so in some respect, we do have a pool, and it's a matter of using the resources that we have. Now there's an opportunity, like Rita said, as we bring on new hotels, could we have a super cool user agreement? And there's another piece I have to remember. We're actively seeking hot water right now with the Borealis Geo. Yeah.
Sorry, bud.
Okay, can somebody ask me about how we can get a pool with geothermal power?
Great answers, everybody. Okay, so I'm going to put it back to the floor now. Is there anybody else? Rashmi?
So I want to ask a follow-up question on the legalization of marijuana, and this question is directed to the 4 council members who are on the podium. So I heard you guys all talk about community consultation and town hall meetings, and I go to a lot of council meetings, almost every council meeting, and I haven't heard you bring that up in council meetings. So maybe you can correct me if it has come up. If it hasn't come up, why haven't you brought up town hall consultation on marijuana when you had a chance to do it while on council? Because it just takes 3 people to make a motion and make that happen. And that sort of extends to town hall conversations in general. You guys are talking about consulting on air quality and other things. Why are you saying you are able to do it now, but when you didn't do it before? So that's my question.
Thank you. I'm going to start down here with Holly, and then we'll work our way back down.
Thanks, Rashmi, for putting our feet to the fire. I think one of the reasons for me is that because I don't have any answers right now. I don't have anything to tell you so that we can have that discussion. I don't know what the rules are going to be. I don't know what the legislation is going to be. I don't know what's going to be, what our town is going to be responsible for. So for me, that's part of it. And the other part of it is that I think, like Pete said, the new council is going to have to deal with this. And they will have more of the answers that this council is presently waiting for, because we don't have any answers right now.
Thank you, Holly. Moving on, we'll hear from Owen.
Thanks, Rashmi. The reason why I am now adding community consultation to my rhetoric is because I've been hearing it more and more from the population and from the people. They want to be involved civically. They have been. And they just want to be in that same room talking to us, and I'm ready to support that. Thanks.
To Peter, please.
Yeah, Rashmi, I agree that we haven't had a lot of that. We did do a little bit early on, but I think it's a very important thing. And as long as the community supports it and shows up for it, I think it's something that we can move forward on. And as far as not having the discussion about marijuana before, yeah, we don't have any answers definitively that we can talk about because we don't have all of the legislation to work with.
Thanks, Rashmi. I appreciate that. We know from one of the other council candidates that, yes, Jasper has something in place, but that's Alberta. BC is just going through a lot of consultation right now, the province, so we do have information coming. And why I'm just bringing up now about community consultation is I had been on my first term in 2011 where we attempted to do those, and I'd like to get back to that. This council, we've had other items on the table for business, and community consultations was not a priority for this last council, and I'm sorry for that, because I do believe from the feedback that I've heard from the public, they wanted that, they wanted more. So that's why I really do want to bring that back on this next council term. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to head on over here to Gail for a question.
Hello. We have a youth group in town called V-Crew Youth Group. Operates from the basement of the curling club. You're all welcome to visit. There's a small plug. It's currently funded by grants. Should that funding source cease, I would like to know from the councillor candidates how invested you are and how important it is to you to keep that youth group running, and how invested you are emotionally and financially in its future.
I'm wondering, why would we think that the funding would dry up for something worthwhile like this?
So I just actually came back from a 4-day conference with Columbia Basin Trust, specifically for the youth programming. I'm happy to announce that, actually, I can't really announce it because they haven't released it yet, but we are going to get 3 more years. But they only approve funding for 3 years at a time. And with Columbia Basin Trust, they do want communities to become somewhat sustainable. They're not a bank. And in this conference, we did find that the more successful programs were in communities where the local government was much more involved than ours has been so far. Thanks.
Okay, so they were involved more in funding through the tax base, or, okay. Well, I certainly think they're worthwhile, and okay, well, it would be certainly something that I would support if elected. Any ideas, you know, I'd be more than happy to hear. You are the people that are running it. You are the experts. And it's obvious you've done some research. So, yeah, I'd be totally on board.
Absolutely. Most of you probably know that I spend a fair bit of my time working with the youth of Valemount. V-Crew is so important. Our JCRs only meet once a week, but they need a place to go outside of all of those meetings. They need a place to go that's safe, where they get mentorship from adults that aren't their parents. And I'd be supportive of anything. I mean, the funding is so important.
I'm also part of that Junior Canadian Ranger program, and I am really amazed with the results and some of the kids that have come through our program. I believe there's also a scouting program, the guiding program. No, not anymore?
Guiding, but not scouting.
Oh, guiding. And I really feel in the midst of it, there is financing, but more than that, you need adults that are committed to youth, who will love them through the worst times and the best times, and to be a part of their lives. Without that, you can't really make a program work.
I, of course, support it. Many of our children from our children's program at the CBCA age out and move up to the V-Crew, and we have a symbiotic relationship with the V-Crew. I think that there has not been a commitment over the last 4 years with this mayor and council towards children's programming and or youth programming. I've heard negative commentary coming from the mayor and council's office in respect to the children's programming and youth programming, and I would like to see that change. I would like to see a full commitment to youth and to youth programming and what we need to do for youth in this community. It needs to happen. We're not going to attract families. We're not going to attract other things if we don't want to attract youth. Even youth tourism was denied by this last council, and that needs to change. Thank you.
So I attended the grand opening of the youth center, and it's an amazing place, and there's amazing kids, and there are amazing workers, Gail and Darren. It's a conversation we need to have. I don't know enough about the funding, but it seems like there are people in the audience that do, so that's a conversation we need to have, because we need to have it. I grew up in a smaller town than this, and we didn't have a youth group, and boy, it could have been a better thing.
Yeah, I agree. The V Crew having a place for the youth to gather on their own terms is very important. I also agree with Eugene that some of this needs to start at home and trickle down. I went through the entire scouting program. It was not supported other than by parents paying the fees and stuff. I think it can be looked at as far as funding, but then again, or is it going to be a tax-based situation that would have to go to the public to determine if that's where our tax money is going to go? I think it should be supported and looked at in different ways as far as whether it's facility support or just community support, but I think we need to look at the financial end of things.
I think growing up myself in Valemount, one of the most important resources that I had, and there was only one or two individuals that showed up this way for me, but was that there were adults who weren't my parents who helped me see what my options were in times when I needed somebody to help me see what my options were. And that's, I think, is a really important thing to provide for kids in our community. You know, somebody that can help them to make better choices, because sometimes teenagers aren't the best at that. So I think this is an important thing. I don't know exactly about saddling the taxpayers with it. I mean, I do think that raising kids is the responsibility of parents, and not everybody has the same means. So it is an important topic, and I would support things for the youth in Valemount.
Thank you, Nathan. Okay, team. I think we've got, oh, the rest of the team didn't answer. Sorry, was that meant for all of, like, council and the mayors? Would you like to hear from the mayors? We've about got time for that, and that's it.
Okay. When I moved to town, shortly Andreas Tony was building the bike park. Have you guys seen the bike park? How many of you, raise your hand, have you seen any of the jumps? You need to get up there, and if you go up high enough on 5 Mile Road, you get a beautiful view now, thanks to the community forest, and you'll see an amazing set of bike jumps. And kids here are learning a lot there. It's an amazing resource, and it started with one kid here. The V Crew, if the V Crew was around when Andreas Tony started building in '98, we would have had a bike park long before. He's made an amazing contribution to this community, and I'd love for you to go up there and check it out sometime, because it started with one kid. And I was riding up on the shuttle with Aubrey Scheller, and I said, is there stuff for you to do here? And he said, if you have an idea, go to V Crew, and they'll help you do it.
Thanks, Andrew.
Well, congratulations on securing funding for the next 3 years. Cat's out of the bag. Obvious in this regard that the CBT board and programs see this as an important venture and importance to community. With Holly, not with Holly, but I did attend the youth group opening, but I was just there to break into Gail's car. It starts with a formal written partnership. If we're going to seek funding opportunities outside of the Columbia Basin Trust, the provincial requirements dictate that, and we can get that done.
So thank you for all the hard work that you're putting into that. That's terrific. And so for the next 3 years, we're good, and we have 3 years to, we actually should get it done in 2 years to explore as a community new opportunities to have some forward thinking in that and make sure that it's secure for a long time to come.
Thank you, Gail, Darren, and Riet for your work with the B crew. It's great to have that for our youth because you know what? They are the future of our community, so we need to continue supporting them to grow and develop their ideas and become stewards of our community. Thank you.
Okay, guys, we're going to squeeze one last question in here.
Thank you. Originally, I had a question for Bob and Harold, but I felt really bad for the regional district people, so I went up to my computer and I thought, somebody's got to ask these guys a question. So here it comes. And I hope it's on the right track. I hope this applies to you. My concern is with the arena and the reduction of operating hours and your thoughts on how do we actually keep that building a viable entity in this community. Thank you.
On that, I am about as undereducated as you are. Coming into it brand new, first time ever running for office, learning everything I can. I did not pick up on any, don't have any information for you yet.
Good. Excellent. Thank you, Ben. We've been working on this. Have you noticed that there was a community survey? Did you fill out the community survey on that? Good. Fabulous. And that is the beginning of the and that is the beginning of the conversation. That's not the end of it. We're going to hold open houses. We think that this is an important and valuable service for the communities in the Robson Valley. However, it's costing us nearly $750,000 a year to operate them. How do we fix that? You know, how can we work with that, work on making sure that the hours that are being utilized are effective for the most of the people, making sure that the services that are being offered are valued, and the ones that aren't, we're going to have to cut back. So it is a toss-up. However, we've started the conversation because none of this is going to happen without your input and involvement. So that's the whole point. So there will be more, not just surveys, but open houses and more conversations about this.
Thank you so much. Well, folks, this concludes our evening. Thank you so much to all of our candidates. You guys really did so well, and we're so lucky to have you. And thank all of you for coming out. You came up with great questions, and thanks for being so involved. If you have any, anything that you'd like to know about the election process at all, visit valemount.ca. No, valemount.com, I lied to you. /elections. That's got all of the info you need for the kind of ID you need or the dates and all that sort of thing. So if you're unsure, please check it out. Also keep your eyes peeled for the interviews that VCTV is currently conducting with all of our candidates. I believe they will be out sometime very shortly. I forgot to ask before we started. Sunday. Okay, have a great night, everyone, and see you on Election Day.